Yo, you guys ever watch that Chris Rock special where he's talking about you've never been in love if you've never thought about killing the person that you love, your wife or whoever? It's a little funny, isn't it? Sometimes my wife makes me really mad, dude. And I just want to, you know, you just feel that for a second though. You don't really want to do nothing like that in real life. But man, oh man, she's made me angry a couple of times. I'll just say that. Made that corner fast. Right on red from the left lane. That's right. It's one of those weird lanes where there's two lanes, but it's right turn only, and it doesn't say right on red only in the curb lane, so you can do it in the outside lane. I don't know why they set it up like that, no left turn, but that's the way it is right there. But man, yeah, so my wife is sick, and so she's understandably a little bit, I can't say stressed out, because I suggested to her last night that she was stressed out, and then that made her mad. If I'm allowed to say that she was mad. But it seemed like she was symptomatic of stress. Seemed like it. Seemed like it to me. But, you know, of course, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. It just looked like stressed. It looked like stress to my untrained eye and ear. And she just was making me mad. But then, and I want to tell her that too. It's just like, shut up. Try telling your wife to shut up and see how that goes for you. But, yeah, look at that. I think this is Steve right here. Driving up next to me. There's Steve-O. What's up, Steve? Nope, that's not Steve, that's Chuck. He got himself a new truck too. These guys that I work with love having car payments, man. I'll talk about that next, here in a minute. But yeah, dude, my wife, you want to tell her to shut up sometimes, man. But then she brings up the fact that when I'm sick, I get just as irritable. And I want to tell her, no, you're wrong, but I think she might not be wrong. She might actually be perfectly 100% correct. And when I get sick, I just feel like I don't want to deal with nothing, you know? I don't want to talk, and whenever anybody tries to talk to me, I sound like I'm bothered by it, because I am. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want anybody to ask me to do anything. Nothing. Just leave me alone, dude. But I feel like I still feel like there's a difference, because when I'm trying to talk to her, it's to offer help or to try to make her feel better, or, you know, like I try to be helpful. And it's not to say that she doesn't take care of me when I'm sick, but, you know, whatever, I'm over it. She said that she like took an ibuprofen and took a shower, and that she's starting to feel a little bit better, and her temperature came down a little bit, so hopefully, you know, when I get home, everything will be great. But yeah, car payments, I can't wait to pay off my cars. I never had a car payment. Well, that's not true. I had one car payment, but it was a $4,000 car, and I paid it off in like a year. And I actually took, one year I had like a $700 or $800 tax return, and I took that whole money. I took all that money and just paid off my car with it. And then like the next week on 4/20, the car broke down, and it threw a rod. And if any of you know what that means, I didn't use that car anymore. It was gone. I called a tow truck, and I was gonna have them tow it to the nearest junkyard and just try to get a few $100 for it. But I ended up just selling it straight to the tow truck driver. He was like, how much do you think you're gonna get for it? I said, I'm trying to get $300 for it, you know, just as scrap. He said, all right, dude, I'll give you $300, and he handed it to me right there. And that was a good deal. Yeah, thank you, bro. Goodbye. And now I don't have to spend any more time going down to the junkyard. I can just take that $300 and my whole day and go enjoy 420 with it. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't have a car. So that sucked. And I'm trying to think about how I got my next car after that. because that was a 2000, or no, it was a 1999 Ford Escort. I remember thinking, like, dang, dude, I'm not into the new millennium with this car. It's a 1999. And the thing is, they had two Ford Escorts there. One was a 1999 and one was a 2000, and I got the 99 one because it had less rust, believe it or not, and less miles. That 2000 one was just beat up. So it was the right decision, but I wanted to get, you know, a 2000 just because it's kind of like a milestone as far as the calendar goes. And so yeah, it was a 99. That's why I remember it, because I got the older one in the last millennium. So it's like, wow, it's super old. And this is back in like 2010 or 11. So this car shouldn't have been that old, right? But it was. And I think my next car was a Mercury. What's the two-door Mercury? You have the Ford, it had a real similar body style to the Mustang, but it was like the cheap two-door junk version. It wasn't, do you have the Mercury Topaz or the Ford? Whatever it was a little junk car. But I'll tell you what, I prefer having a junk car that I gotta pay to have fixed every once in a while for a couple few $100, you know, have something simple go wrong with it. And like, even if it's like, if something big goes wrong with it, you're talking about the motor or the transmission, but anything else, it's not that big a deal. Especially since one of my real good buddies he can fix anything. He actually swapped out the transmission on a Crown Vic. All these people are out here protesting abortion. Wow, that was a hell of a picture. Wow, actually, that was impactful. There was a picture of it looked like a real bloody baby laying on a white towel, but it was like real bloody, and it was totally dismembered, arms and feet, and wow, dude. They ripped the baby apart and then rip it out. Whew. You know, I'm totally against abortion. I think that, like, you know, life definitely begins at conception. Wherever else you draw the line, like, when does the soul enter the body? I don't know, but it seems like the only logical line to draw for the beginning of life is conception. That's the beginning. That was the beginning of your life. It was the beginning of my life. If you kill that thing, even with the morning after pill, that's kind of murder, dude. That's pretty much murder, because that baby owns itself, and it's your body, your choice. If you're a pregnant woman, that's true. That's true. But what about the baby? Is it the baby's body, baby's choice? That's an interesting question, I think, right? But I also don't think that the government needs to be throwing anyone in a cage about it. So that's a complicated issue. I don't know what the answer is. Probably just have to let women do what they're gonna do. And advocate that they just use birth control, you know? It can seem like not that big of a difference to some people, but I don't know. Definitely when the baby starts to take form and it has an actual brain and it's able to think and feel, when you start getting, like, you know, a few months in, dude, that's a person, 100%. I gotta watch out for this getting too hot. I'm gonna turn the heat off so that it doesn't get too hot. Getting on the highway. I think the only car I want to buy from now on is like Toyota or Honda, so that I don't have that kind of problem anymore with motors blowing up, and changing the oil and making sure that the oil is always fresh. I was just looking at a beat up car going by. It reminded me of that again. But yeah, abortion, that's a complicated issue. There was a great Soho Forum debate on it from the libertarian perspective. Walter Block versus this other lady, I can't remember her name. And they were basically both against abortion, but Walter Block, his suggestion, and the woman was all the way against abortion. She says that there's no reason ever to morally justify an abortion because that baby is a self-owner and you cannot kill them from the moment of conception, regardless of the situation that led to the conception, rape or rape or otherwise. That baby owns itself, and you know it's perfectly fine for the mother to put the baby up for adoption because she does have her own rights to her life. But so does the baby, man, and you can't just go killing the baby because his dad. You can't go killing the baby just because the dad of the baby is a rapist. You guys ever watch Law and Order, Special Victims Unit? Where like the main character lady, she was a child of rape. So she has kind of complicated feelings of it, and it's kind of no surprise that she grows up to be a cop who goes after rapists. That's actually a pretty badass job, dude. That's one cop that you can have some respect for, what they do. Special Victims Unit. They're not just out here trying to bust people going a little bit too fast. You know, if you wanna keep people speeding under control, just like go tattle on them to the insurance company. You know, like why does the state get money? It doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, you were going fast, now you have to pay us money or you're going to a cage. Like, really, a cage? That seems a little excessive. But that's always what's laying at the bottom. If you don't listen, you're getting the cage or the gun. One of the two. And that's every little tiniest law, dude. The smallest law. It gets backed up by the cage and the gun. My wife called me today, and she was telling me about her experience with getting called in for jury duty. And she got called in, but she didn't get selected to go on to the trial. But it was a murder trial. And she did receive some instructions from the judge, and the judge was making it sound like you have to judge the case strictly according to the law. You're there to judge what happened, and if there was any breakage of the law, any breakage, I don't know, whatever, any violation of the law, then you have to vote guilty. Like, basically, you're not there to judge it on your own. You're just there to judge the facts against the law, and that's it. And you have to follow instructions from the judge, and you have to do everything that the judge says. But you know, that's not true. Like, following instructions, you kind of have to, like, yes, but in general, yes, but you're also there to judge the law. If say somebody gets brought in on petty theft, you know, and you know that the sentence is going to be really harsh. Or if somebody comes in with, like, and now petty theft, that crime would involve a victim, probably a store or another individual. But say somebody gets brought in on, like, a possession charge, and it's a lot of possession. Like, they've got a pound of weed on them. I don't know how much marijuana you have to have for it to be a felony, but somebody comes into court with that amount of marijuana, and they're getting ready to be sent to prison for a long time, like 10 years or something. And they're able to prove to you beyond the shadow of a doubt, for sure this guy had all that weed on him, for sure it was his, it was in his possession, and they're able to prove that to you beyond a shadow of a doubt. The judge would tell you that in that case you have no choice but to vote guilty as a juror. But that's not true. You can vote not guilty, and you don't have to explain yourself. It's called jury nullification. Look it up. Very important. Very important. You can save someone's life. Because you have an 18-year-old kid who gets busted with a whole bunch of weed. He's trying to sell weed to his buddies, you know, and he shouldn't be doing that. Whatever, you know, it shouldn't be illegal, but he shouldn't be breaking the law. Breaking the law, you're gonna get in trouble with the you know, all the guys that wear their costumes and guns and badges and all that. So he really shouldn't be doing it. He should have thought twice, but we're talking about ruining this kid's life. He's 18 years old. He's not going to get out until he's 28. He's going to have a felony on his record, and his life is kind of screwed up, man. It's not over, but I mean, where do you go from there? So if you're on that jury, vote not guilty, man. Don't save that kid's life. I would. And of course, everybody's totally entitled to whatever they want to do. And you're not obligated to save that kid's life, but I definitely would. I would consider that juror a hero for doing that. And, you know, saved that kid's life. That's what you're doing when you vote not guilty on some stupid charge that should have never been brought to court anyway. That's just how I feel about it. As we clearly know, not everybody agrees with me. Some people would be in there with their pitchfork, just itching to send that kid to jail. Like, yeah, get rid of him. Get rid of him. Get rid of the weed. Get rid of him. I only want, you know, bootlickers around me, and that's it. This guy passed me up a little bit too closely. Oh, now he's going to get in front of me with only a couple of feet to spare. Nice. I've said it before on here. I think it was like the first or second podcast I ever recorded. When you pass somebody up and you want to get in front of them, get well in front of them. Get way out in front of them and then get over. You know? Unless it's tight traffic and there's not a lot of room, then, you know, do what you gotta do. But if there's lots of room way out in front of you in the left lane, and there's room way out in front of me in the middle lane where I'm at, just get 100 foot ahead of me and then get over. Why do you gotta kiss my bumper? You know, it's just dangerous. Better if you leave everyone room to breathe on the highway, especially when we're doing nearly 70 miles an hour. And come on. You know how fast that is if we wreck into each other? These cars will go rolling, sliding, hit the wall. You have no idea how much that'll hurt. People die at these kind of speeds easily. So just give people room. Give people room on the way home. Wherever you're going on the highway. Sheesh. Friggin' like a mile ahead of us is all empty. I think sometimes people do it though just because like they're mad at you for going so slow, but I'm not. I'm doing about 5 over. And it's not like I was blocking his lane. Just go, keep on moving, dude. You just passed me up and then cut me off. Weird. See, now I got a semi-truck closing the distance behind me. He shouldn't be doing that. In a semi-truck, you're supposed to stay 6 seconds behind. Because if I hit my brakes right now, there's no possible way he would have time to stop before he hit me. And he's getting so close now, he wouldn't even be able to turn off. He wouldn't even be able to turn out of the way. If I slammed my brakes right now, he would be buying me a new car. Yeah, flashing his brights at me. He wants me to get over. I'll do it. You fucking impatient fuck. going 10 over the speed limit, you're gonna have to get into the fast lane, dude. I shouldn't have got over for him. I was already going over the speed limit for you. Yeah, oh nice, and you've got hazardous materials too. Excellent. That's Rider.com. Is that just the name of the trailer, or is that the driver of the truck? I don't know. Sometimes trailers will have a name on them that has nothing to do with the freight that's being hauled. Or the driver or the truck that you can rent a trailer, you know. And Rider, that might be a trailer rental company, I'm not sure. But whoever this guy is, got a Rider trailer on it, on the back of it. RYDER. I'm not supposed to swear on here, and I just said a couple of F words. Dropping the F-bomb. I can't wait to get home and take a shower, man. It was raining all day yesterday and all day today. I'm gross. I'm gross after today. Even though it was only a half shift. Just a little baby half shift. But you get into overtime. I think every hour I worked on Friday was overtime. Because I worked, yeah, definitely over 10 hours. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I definitely had at least 10 hours each of those days. So that's my 40 right there. Every hour on Friday. $1 every 2 minutes, baby. $1 every 2 minutes. A little bit better than that, actually. I wonder if anyone will ever click on one of these videos and watch it to the end. You guys should leave a comment. If you ever watch this video to the end and you're hearing this, you should leave a comment that says highway exit or whatever, I don't know. Just the letter A. Leave a comment with the letter A at the beginning. I doubt anyone ever will. I was looking at it this morning, and I had a view on one of my videos, and the guy or whoever it was, the guy or girl or whatever, had the video on for 17 seconds before they clicked off. So I gotta figure out how to grab attention a little bit better, because I don't think anyone's ever gonna watch this thing to the end in the format I'm doing now. So I gotta come up with something. Maybe I could do a gun review. Those are probably decent. I'll do a Glock 19 review, because I'm pretty sure nobody's ever done one of those on the internet before. On a Glock 19. I actually have one on my belt right now. I have a Glock 19. I have a Sig Sauer P365. That's a really cool gun. How it holds 10 9mm shots in the magazine, in the flush magazine, and it's smaller than a Glock 43. If that's fair to say, it's really about the same size. It's about the same size. The comparisons, if you look at the numbers on the dimensions, the differences are pretty much negligible. They're about the same. It's funny watching those YouTube videos comparing the Glock 19 to the SIG P320 or the Glock 43 to the 365, and looking at it like, oh, well, this one's a little bit wider. Let's get out the calipers. You know, like, Jesus, dude, you're going to be putting it on your hip, and you think that thousandth of an inch is going to make a difference? I don't know about that. I don't know. It's really about the same. But you know, some people love those numbers. And I guess I find it kind of interesting too. I just don't care enough to go buy a pair of calipers. I don't know. I'll watch Hickok 45 do it. Or whoever else. I know the gun channel that's really fun is Demolition Ranch. That guy does a lot of fun stuff on his his channel. Some of the newer stuff, I feel like he's kind of running out of ideas, but the stuff that he was doing a couple years ago, it was all like really great stuff. But now he's just done so much. Like, where do you go from here, you know? All the best ideas are kind of spent, all the ones that I can think of, except for the one where he was trying to cause a chain reaction. He would like fire one shot, and then that shot would hit the trigger on another gun, would hit the trigger on another gun, and like back and forth zigzagging across the little path that he had set up. And it was going to be a chain reaction that would fire like 10 guns, but he had to use something that weren't guns, and they were like black powder, single shot, little handguns or whatever, because with one pull of the trigger, if it causes multiple shots to go off, it could be considered a machine gun or something. I don't know. I think he should have just went for it, but you know, the feds, they're really particular about their stupid little laws, man, and they probably would have locked him in a cage over that if he took like a bunch of regular semi-automatic handguns and just loaded one round in each chamber and then set them all off with one pull of the trigger with his finger. They probably would lock him up for that. Like, yeah, I know it's a technicality, but you're going to prison for the rest of your life. Sorry. And that would be an example of jury nullification applying really well. Vote not guilty on that one. Like, yeah, well, you know, the state hasn't proven its case to me, and so I have no choice but to vote not guilty in the case of where is he at? Texas v. Demolition Ranch. Whatever that guy's name is. I can't remember. That was a fun one that he did recently, but he had a lot of fun ones. And just like, is this thing bulletproof? He has all kinds of different materials and objects that he'll shoot at. He'll start out with like a .22 pistol or rifle, and then step it up to handgun ammunition, and then if it holds up to that, we're getting into rifles, baby. You know, trying to like blow a hole through AR-500 armor and stuff like that, and then eventually he gets all the way up to the 50 cal, and the 50 cal gets through almost everything. You can't stop the 50 cal, dude, not unless you have some thick steel. The 50 cal's badass, dude. But I was looking at one. I was looking at like a Barrett M1 or whatever they're called. I think I got that right, but they're like $10,000, so I'm probably a long way off from owning one of those. But man, oh man, 50 cal, the bullet is like as big as my hand. It's like from my middle finger to the bottom of my palm. Those things are really big. And then like the projectile itself is almost 2 inches, man. They're massive. I remember on Shark Tank, there was I think the guy was a veteran, and he was making bottle openers out of a 50 cal. So he would just like dig out the casing and, you know, get rid of all the powder, if there was ever even powder in it. He probably could just use spent shells. I don't know exactly what he was using, but he would turn a 50 cal, and then he would carve out a little bottle opener down at the end where the primer is, and you could just open up a beer bottle with it. And he was selling those, and he was on Shark Tank trying to get some money. And that's a cool idea. Having a big 50 caliber bottle opener, and I think he offered an engraving on it. And he was talking about how he had them made for his bachelor's when he got married, and then he turned it into a business. How awesome is that? Welcome to America. Yeah. Land of the free and home of the big ass guns. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off now, and yeah, if you made it to the end, leave a comment saying A, and subscribe to the thing, man. I'm trying to turn this into something, maybe. I don't know what it's gonna be, but we'll see. See you later.